Lesson 1. Readers of the earlier books of Essential English 1st, 2nd, and 3rd will remember that the lessons are built round a little group of characters: the teacher, Mr. Priestley and his wife, the students, Lucille, Frieda, Aleph, Jan, Pedro and Hob. Book 4th completes the story of the students, and when this book closes we shall have seen them all leaving Mr. Priestley and going out into the world. At the end of Book 3rd we saw that Frieda and Jan had fallen in love with each other, so, naturally, Book 4th opens with the announcement of their engagement. Frieda and Jan break the news. Scene: Mr. Priestley's living room. Characters: Mr. Priestley, Mrs. Priestley, Frieda, Jan, Mr. Priestley, Mrs. Priestley. There's something we want to tell you. Frieda and I are engaged to be married. Mrs. Priestley: oh, how nice. Mr. Priestley: congratulations and best wishes. Frieda and Jan: thank you both very much. Frieda: you are the first people we have told, except for my parents. Jan: yes, I wrote to Frieda's father a week ago, telling him we wanted to get married and asking for his permission. Frieda: and we had replies this morning. It's all right and they are very happy about it. Mrs. Priestley: oh, I'm so glad. Jan: you don't look very surprised at the news. Mrs. Priestley: I'm not surprised, I'd expected it for months, but I'm very pleased indeed. Mr. Priestley: I might as well admit that it's a complete surprise to me. I never notice things even when they are right under my nose, but I'm really delighted at the news. I think you are very lucky, Jan, to get such a girl as Frieda. Mrs. Priestley: and I think you are very fortunate, Frieda, to get such a fine fellow as Jan. I hope you will be very happy together. Mr. Priestley: are you thinking of getting married soon? Frieda: well, that's one of the things we are not agreed on. As you know, Jan is starting at London University in October to study to become a doctor. He wants us to get married at once. I would rather wait for a year or two, at any rate until Jan has taken his first examination. Jan: but what's the point of waiting? Frieda: so that you can really work hard. Don't you think, Mr. Priestley, that he would think about his work more if I wasn't there? Jan: but don't you see that if we were not married I should be thinking about you all the time and wanting to be with you instead of working, whereas if we were married? Frieda: do you hear that? Once we are married he won't think about me anymore. That's a fine thing to hear from a man you have just become engaged to. Jan: oh, Frieda, you know I didn't mean that. I only meant... Frieda: but that's not the only thing we don't agree on. Mr. Priestley, smiling: dear me, this sounds terrible. What is the further cause of disagreement? Frieda: well, I want to live in a house. Jan thinks we ought to have a flat or rooms in a house. Jan: a friend told me of a small flat in the centre of London overlooking King's Cross station that will be vacant in October. Frieda: but I don't want to live in a small flat in the centre of London. I'd much rather have a little house in the country looking out on fields, where I can breathe fresh air and see trees and hear birds singing. Jan: but a flat is so much more convenient. We could get some labour-saving devices that would save you a lot of housework, and there are lots of little restaurants near King's Cross where we could go out for something to eat in the evening so you wouldn't need to cook meals. Frieda: but I want to cook meals. I'm really quite a good cook, and I don't mind doing housework. I like it. Besides, I looked at the flat you are talking about and I didn't like the look of it at all. Jan: I agree it wasn't very attractive looking, but the rent was low. Frieda: you know, I don't like the idea of paying rent. My parents have paid rent on our house for 30 years. I wish I had all the money they have paid in rent. They've paid enough to buy the house twice over and yet they don't own a single brick of it. Jan: yes, I agree. I should like to buy a house, but we haven't the money, at least not now. In 4 or 5 years' time it may be different. You see, Mr. Priestley, it's like this. My grandfather, my mother's father, he was a Scotsman, left me a sum of money in his will, and some useless property, a factory, but the money is in trust until I am 25. I get the income from it, and that has been enough to keep me and pay for my classes. With a bit of a struggle, it will just about keep us both, at least I hope so, but we've no hope of buying a house, at least not for a time. So if we must pay rent, let's pay the least we can and have a flat. Frieda, oh dear, I do wish I could have a house all to myself, with a garden where I can grow flowers and lettuces and cabbages. I was so looking forward to it. Isn't there any way we could buy one? Mr. Presley, I don't want to look as if I was poking my nose into what isn't my business, but, Frieda, oh, we don't mind. We'd welcome your ideas, wouldn't we, Jan? Yes, rather. But don't you agree with me, Mr. Presley, that it would be much better to be married soon and live in a flat and not wait a year or two as Frieda says? Frieda, don't you think it would be better to wait until we can get a house and not live in a flat? Isn't that what we ought to do? Mr. Presley, well, I'm not going to say what you ought to do, Mrs. Presley. Neither am I, Mr. Presley. But I know what you will do, Mrs. Presley, and so do I, Mr. Presley. You'll get married soon and not wait. Jan, very good, Mrs. Presley, and you'll have a house and not a flat or rooms. Frieda, hurrah, that's what I say, Mr. Presley. Well, if that's what's going to happen, I should like to make a suggestion if I may. Jan and Frieda, oh yes, please do, Mr. Presley. Well, you know, you could buy a house through a building society. You look round, choose the house you want to buy and then approach the building society. You put down a proportion of the money, say 10%, and pay off the rest at so much a month. The monthly payments will not be much more than a rent would be, and you will have the satisfaction of knowing that your payments go towards buying the house. Jan, well, there's probably something in that, but, Frieda, oh, Jan, it would be lovely. As a matter of fact, I've been looking round and I've already seen the house I want. Jan, what? Frieda, yes, you know that little cottage, Mrs. Presley, that you see from the back of your garden. Mr. Presley, what, the one in Darville Lane, Rose Cottage I think it is called. Frieda, that's the one. I heard it was for sale, so I went round there at once. It has a comfortable little sitting room, a tiny but very nice dining room, a kitchen, 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. There are roses round the front door and an apple tree in the garden. Mrs. Presley, Frieda, it sounds perfect. Frieda, it is, but what's the use of it? Jan would prefer to live in London overlooking King's Cross with millions of people all round us. Jan, well, if it would make Frieda happy, I don't mind living in a house in the country, and I'm quite willing to dig the garden for her. Frieda, that's the way to talk, darling. I certainly would like it. I've saved a bit of money and that would help towards buying the furniture. We shouldn't need very much for a start. I don't mind how simply we live. I would do all my own work and clean the house and cook the meals. Oh, it would be lovely. Jan, yes, it certainly sounds very nice when you put it like that, but all the money I have in the world will only just keep us and pay for my studies at the university. How much do they want for this house of yours? Frieda, they're asking £3,800 British pounds, but we might get it for £3,600 British pounds or £3,650 British pounds. We would have to put down about £360 British pounds to £370 British pounds. Jan, sorry, Frieda, I wish I could do it, but it just can't be done. Mr. Presley, look here, Jan, as I said, I don't want to poke my nose into your affairs, but I have a bit of capital, 300 British pounds or 400 British pounds in the bank doing nothing, and I'd much rather lend it to you if that would help you than have it there doing nothing. Jan, oh, Mr. Presley, that's very kind of you, but I couldn't accept that from you. Mr. Presley, nonsense. You can pay me back easily when you become a successful doctor, as I am sure you will. So that's settled. We'll say no more about it now, but come to my study afterwards and we'll talk it over together. Bless my soul. Frieda, what are you crying for? Frieda, I'm not crying. I'm just happy, that's all. Verb study 1. Look, in this book we shall consider a number of verbs, each of which can have a variety of meanings. This is particularly the case when the verb is used with a preposition or an adverb. For example, go on working, give up smoking, burst out crying, keep on trying, etc. Verbs like this are sometimes called phrasal verbs. One of the aims of lesson 1 was to illustrate the uses of look. You'll find these examples there. I looked at the flat. I was looking forward to having a house. I don't want to look as if I was poking my nose into what isn't my business. Look here, Jan, a house looking out on fields. I don't want to live in the centre of London and look over King's Cross, a part of London overlooking King's Cross. It has a small but pleasant looking dining room. You look round and choose the house you want. Exercises. 1. Word study. Use the following words, taken from Lesson 1, in sentences of your own. Engaged. Use also engagement. What is an engagement ring? Make sentences using engaged to, engaged in, engaged with, congratulations, and the verb congratulate. Admit. Note 2 meanings. Use also admission, whereas, agreement. What is the opposite? Flat. 2 meanings. Breathe. Also breath. Note the difference in pronunciation. Rent, brick, lettuce. Give the names of 3 other vegetables. Suggestion. Also suggest. Approach. Proportion. Big. Furniture. Mention 4 different articles of furniture. Capital. Make 3 sentences using one of these phrases in each. A capital letter. The capital of England. Capital in the bank. 2. Use the following in sentences of your own. Look at, look for, look forward to, look after, look as if, look like, look as though, look down on, look into, look someone up, look on, onlooker, look something up, the look of, have a look at. 3. Show the difference between look out and outlook, to look over and to overlook. 4. Make sentences of your own, using want, should like, would rather, it would be better, prefer, I don't mind, wish, I'm quite willing. 5. Use each of the following idioms in a sentence of your own. To lead a person by the nose, to pay through the nose, as plain as the nose on your face, to keep one's nose to the grindstone, to poke one's nose into other people's business, can't see beyond his own nose, to turn one's nose up at. 6. Explain. 1. Look before you leap. 2. Lookers on see most of the game. 3. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. 7. Write a short story to illustrate one of the proverbs in exercise 6. 8. Describe. 1. Frieda's house. 2. How to buy a house through a building society. 9. Composition exercises. 1. Your ideal house. 2. Life in the country or life in the town, which do you prefer? 3. Would you rather live in a house or a flat? Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each. 10. Study the pictures on page 10 and rewrite the story they tell. Good dog.
Like, share, subscribe.